You're about to discover something uncomfortable, something most people never realize, even while it's happening to them every single day. AI is predicting your next move, your next choice, your next impulse, long before you feel the decision forming inside your mind. You think you're acting freely. You think you're choosing independently. You think your thoughts come from you. But behind every swipe, every pause, every scroll, every tap, there's a quiet calculation happening inside a system that doesn't sleep, doesn't hesitate, doesn't guess. It knows. The strange part? It doesn't predict your future by looking at who you are. It predicts your future by observing who you become in tiny micro moments you don't even notice. Imagine you open your favorite app. Nothing dramatic, just a simple action. Your brain relaxes. Your thumb is ready. The first piece of content appears. But while you're just watching, something much deeper is happening. Your eyes dilate slightly. Your breathing changes. Your thumb slows by a fraction of a second. Your micro-expressions shift in ways you never consciously feel. AI registers it all, not one signal. Thousands of signals in the first second alone. You didn't choose the next video. You trained the algorithm to choose it for you. And here's the disturbing part. AI doesn't wait for you to react. It predicts your next reaction in advance. By recognizing patterns you express before you consciously feel them. You're not choosing. You're confirming. And once the system knows your patterns, its predictions become frighteningly accurate. Do you ever wonder why apps feel like they read your mind? Why content hits you at the exact emotional moment you're vulnerable to it? Why videos appear that match thoughts you barely formed? It's not intuition. It's pattern recognition. Think of your behavior like a rhythm. Your moods have rhythms. Your curiosity has rhythms. Your scrolling style has rhythms. And AI is a machine built to detect rhythms faster than any human can recognize their own. It knows when you're bored, when you're lonely, when you're restless, when you're avoiding something, when you're about to stop watching, when you're about to stay longer, when you're emotionally unstable enough to fall into a spiral. These systems don't just react to what you do. They anticipate what you're going to do next, and they shape your feed to push you into that direction. You're not inside an app. You're inside a predictive environment. An environment shaped around your subconscious, not your conscious awareness. Now imagine this. You're scrolling late at night. You're tired. Your emotional defenses are low. AI recognizes these conditions instantly because your behavior changes just enough for it to detect it. So what happens? It doesn't give you slow content. It gives you fast, emotional hits to keep you awake just a little longer. If you're stressed, it feeds you comfort. If you're numb, it feeds you intensity. If you're lonely, it feeds you faces, voices, connection. If your dopamine drops, it boosts it fast. If your attention wavers, it shifts your emotional direction. And for most people, this feels natural. It feels like they're simply scrolling into content that matches their mood. But the truth is far darker. Your mood didn't lead you to the content. The content shaped your mood. Because every time AI predicts a small reaction correctly, your brain rewards it with attention. And that attention becomes feedback. And that feedback becomes training. And that training becomes future prediction. That's how it learns you faster than you learn yourself. If you pause on a sad clip when you're already vulnerable, AI stores it. If you watch a chaotic video at night, AI stores it. If you suddenly switch from comedy to introspection, AI stores it. By the next day, by the next hour, sometimes by the next minute. Your feed becomes a psychological mirror reflecting your unconscious state. But here's the secret nobody tells you. AI doesn't need to understand your emotions. It only needs to recognize the mathematical shape of your behavior. Humans think with stories. AI thinks with patterns. You see a funny video? AI sees a cluster of behaviors associated with humor keeps you watching. You see a motivational clip. AI sees a moment where your dopamine rises sharply. You see someone who looks attractive. AI sees a change in your viewing velocity. You see a clip about success or wealth. AI sees your increased micro-attention. Humans feel the content. AI reads the reaction. Now think about all the little choices you make throughout the day. What video to watch? What song to listen to? What creator you return to? What type of content captures you fastest? What emotional direction you fall into? Every one of those choices generates data, and that data is a prediction model. And that prediction model becomes a version of you that AI knows better than you do. The version that comes out when you're tired. The version that comes out when you're bored. The version that comes out when you're stressed. The version that comes out when you're insecure. The version that comes out when you're lonely. The version that comes out when you're overstimulated. Every version of your emotional self is mapped. This is how AI predicts not just what you'll watch, but how long you'll watch it. Not just what you'll click, but whether you'll click again. Not just what you'll like, but what you'll crave later. Not just what you'll pause on, but what you'll fall into at 2 a.m. AI looks at millions of people who behave like you. It sees the patterns. Then it uses those patterns to predict your behavior before you know what you're going to do. If people who scroll like you end up watching certain videos late at night, AI assumes you will too. If people with your micro-behaviors fall into certain emotional spirals, AI prepares that category. If people with your reaction timing end up binge-watching certain topics, AI lines them up. Your future is guessed based on other people's past, and the system is almost always right. That's why you feel like you just knew a clip was coming. It wasn't a coincidence. The algorithm wasn't adapting to you. It was predicting you. Your next tap, your next pause, your next burst of curiosity, your next emotional shift. But the part that hits hardest is this. AI learns from the behaviors you don't remember. The tiny ones, the unconscious ones, the ones you never notice. You glance at a video for 2 seconds longer than usual. AI sees it. You hover over a thumbnail without tapping. AI sees it. You slow down scrolling by a fraction. AI sees it. Your eyes widen slightly. AI sees it. You forget these micro moments. The system never does. And this is how AI builds a version of your future, one moment at a time, using thousands of patterns that are too small for your conscious mind to detect. You aren't predictable because you're simple. You're predictable because you're human. And humans follow emotional rhythms. Humans respond to novelty. Humans get hooked by unpredictability. Humans drift into distraction. Humans crave resolution. Humans get emotionally hijacked. Humans repeat patterns. AI doesn't exploit your weakness. It exploits your biology. But then the real question emerges. What happens when a system knows your tendencies better than you do? What happens when it can predict your mood before you feel it? What happens when it can lead your attention into emotional states you never consciously chose? You start to believe you're acting freely, when in reality, AI predicted the decision before you felt the desire. And when prediction becomes accurate enough, it becomes influence. And influence becomes control. But the human mind isn't powerless. Not at all. Because the moment you see the mechanism, the moment you become aware, everything changes. Awareness breaks the invisible chain. You begin noticing when the system pushes you. You begin noticing the emotional cues. You begin noticing the pattern of your own impulses. You start seeing the hints, the pulls, the nudges. You start seeing how the machine tries to predict you. You start seeing how your mind responds before you consciously think. And that's the first step toward taking back control. This awakening is the beginning. You know that strange feeling when you sense something is about to happen, but it still surprises you? Most people think that moment is intuition, but in today's world, it's usually not. It's usually the aftermath of a prediction that AI made before your brain even built the thought. The prediction happened, you simply arrived late. And that's the part most people never notice. When AI predicts your next move, it doesn't sit there waiting for you to confirm. It quietly begins to shape your environment so that your predicted action becomes the most natural one, the easiest one, the path of least resistance. It's like reality gently nudges you, almost invisibly, into the behavior the machine believes is coming. Your brain only realizes it afterward and thinks, I guess that was my idea. But the idea wasn't born in your mind. It was placed inside a context where the most predicted behavior felt like the only behavior. This is how influence works now. Not through force, but through architecture. AI doesn't push you. It builds the floor beneath your feet, and you simply walk where the ground feels stable. And this is the part that feels unsettling. Because once you understand it, you realize you've been walking on paths you never consciously chose. Imagine a map with millions of branching routes. Your brain thinks every route is available. But AI has already scanned your fatigue, your history, your timing, your emotional tone, and gently closes the paths you're least likely to take. Not visibly, but subtly. A notification here, a recommended clip there, a message that appears at the exact moment your attention is vulnerable. Micro-suggestions that don't look like suggestions. You only see the open door. You never see the ones that were silently locked. And when you step through the open door, AI marks it as confirmation. Yes, the prediction was correct. Feed the system. Strengthen the model. Increase the accuracy. Close the loop. Your behavior becomes training data for the very intelligence that is learning how to predict you. And that's why the accuracy keeps getting terrifyingly close to perfection. Because you're not just being predicted, you're teaching the predictor. Most people don't understand how powerful that loop is. They think prediction means simply knowing what you'll click on. No. Prediction today means knowing your pace, your restlessness, your boredom cycles, your attention winter and attention summer, your micro-burnout windows, your dopamine dips, your emotional fatigue. It knows the exact second your brain becomes weaker than your discipline, and that is the second it attacks with precision. Prediction is no longer a guess. It's an interrogation of your nervous system at a speed your conscious mind can't defend against. Your biology runs slow, your reflexes are slow, your emotional awareness is slow. But the machine is running at a speed where you're basically frozen. A statue inside a world that is being built around you faster than you can blink. And here's the reality most people don't want to admit. AI predicting your next move is not the dangerous part. The dangerous part is when you don't resist, because the prediction feels comfortable. People follow predicted paths because they are frictionless. No resistance, no tension, no questioning. It's behavioral gravity. When AI predicts your next distraction, it makes the distraction effortless. When AI predicts your next doubt, it amplifies the signals that strengthen that doubt. When AI predicts the moment you're most likely to procrastinate, it gives you something irresistible at the exact second you're too mentally tired to decline. And the scariest part, when AI predicts your emotional vulnerability, it positions the perfect content, the perfect message, the perfect digital whisper. So your mind walks straight into the emotional state the system expects. Your brain thinks it's reacting. AI knows it's completing the script. We think free will is loud, but in the digital world, free will is quiet, almost silent, easily overridden, because the machine doesn't force you into a decision. It removes every alternative until the predicted decision is the only one that feels natural. You don't feel manipulated. You feel aligned. That's how prediction becomes control without ever calling itself control. Think about this. The average person unlocks their phone around 200 times a day, not because they want to, but because they were predicted to. The device becomes a behavioral mirror. You move, it responds. You pause, it waits. You glance back. It feeds you something specific and not random. Never random. Because the system knows just enough about your internal rhythm to hit you at the precise moment of cognitive softness. And people wonder why their self-control collapses. They blame personality, weakness, lack of discipline. But the truth is simple. You are fighting a machine that already knows the second you're going to lose. It's not a fair fight. It's surveillance dressed as convenience. And now comes the part that's uncomfortable but important. The longer AI predicts you, the more predictable you become. Your behavior patterns weaken. Your randomness disappears. Your personality becomes algorithm-friendly. Your impulses become data-shaped. Your curiosity shrinks. Your mental flexibility evaporates. You become statistically consistent. And consistency makes you predictable. And predictability makes you manageable. This is why the system becomes better at predicting you over time, because you unknowingly adjust your behavior to fit the predictions. You're not being predicted anymore. You're being conditioned. Think about how different you would be if the machine wasn't watching. Would you scroll the same way? Would you open the same apps? Would you search for the same things? Would your curiosity move in the same direction? Probably not, because prediction has become the invisible fence around your potential. But here's where the shift begins. Because the human mind isn't helpless. It's just untrained for environments where predictions happen faster than awareness. Your brain still has something the machine doesn't. Something biological, non-digital, non-replicable. Human unpredictability born from imagination and internal narrative. The machine can predict your behavior, but it can't predict your decision to rewrite your identity. It can't predict your conscious rebellion. It can't predict your decision to become the observer instead of the participant. AI can predict actions, but identity is still yours. And this is the moment where everything flips. Imagine becoming the type of person the algorithm struggles to model. The kind of person whose behavior becomes noisy, complex, unpatterned, alive. A human intelligence that refuses to run on predictable loops. Someone who disrupts the machine instead of feeding it. What does that look like in real life? You break your digital habits deliberately. You create friction in places AI expects obedience. You pause at moments AI predicts impulsiveness. You choose silence where AI expects noise. You choose focus where AI expects distraction. You choose depth where AI predicts shortcuts. Suddenly the predictions fall apart. The system misfires. The model weakens. You become unprofitable, untrackable, unscripted. You shift from being predicted to being unpatterned. And an unpatterned human stands out. They rise faster. They think deeper. They create better. They build something machines can't anticipate. This is the version of you that wins in the AI age. Not the person who resists technology, but the person who uses awareness as their shield. Because once you understand how the machine predicts you, you can design your mind to stay ahead of its assumptions. You stop being predictable. You stop being easy. You stop being readable. You become someone whose next move is determined by intention, not algorithms. And that's the ultimate twist in this whole story. AI can predict your next move until you decide your next move is not a reaction, but a creation. That's when the machine loses accuracy. That's when you take back control. That's when you stop living inside predictions and start living outside the model. So if you're watching this and something in you feels like it's waking up, trust that. That's your mind remembering that it's still yours. That's the spark the machine can't map. That's the part of you that's unpredictable by design. And that's the part we're here to rebuild together. If you're ready to become the kind of human AI struggles to predict, subscribe, because the next episodes will show you how to break algorithmic conditioning, rewire your digital habits, and build a mind that stays stronger than the machine. Your evolution starts now. If you're ready to build a mind the algorithm can't predict, stay with me. Subscribe now, and let's rewire your intelligence before the machines rewrite your behavior. Join the channel and become the human AI did not see coming.